Welcome to Movie Rehash. Today, I'm going to explain an action, thriller film released in 2019, titled, John Wick, Chapter 3. If you have not seen its first and second part, I will provide the link in description below. Warning, spoilers ahead, so brace yourselves and enjoy the ride. The movie starts as John Wick and his dog, running through the street of New York City. He has less than an hour left until he is officially declared excommunicado and has no hitman services rendered to him, along with a $14 million bounty on his head going into effect. He gets into a taxi, but the traffic is really stuck. He has only 20 minutes left before he's in real trouble. So, he chooses to leave the taxi. Before he goes, he gives the driver a gold coin to make sure his dog gets to the Continental safely. John goes to the New York Public Library. The librarian helps him find a book with hidden coins and a necklace inside. Suddenly, a hitman named Ernest shows up. John says he has some time left, but Ernest doesn't care about just a few minutes. They fight, and John ends up using the book to hurt Ernest badly, breaking his jaw and neck. But John gets a stab wound on his shoulder as well. In a hurry, he goes to the doctor at his home, with only 5 minutes left. The doctor agrees to assist but has to stop stitching before finishing. The extra time for help is done. John manages to finish the stitching by himself. Before he departs, the doctor instructs him to shoot him in the right areas to make it look like John forced him to help. He begins running through Chinatown and is spotted by a gang that pursues him. They eventually reach a warehouse where a fight ensues. Inside, they stumble upon an assortment of sharp weapons like knives and daggers. Despite their attempts, John skillfully throws knives at all the gang members and even sends an axe into the leader's head. John keeps running and comes across a horse. He cleverly uses the horse to kick some of the gang members in the face before riding it through the streets. Even when thugs on motorcycles attempt to catch him, John swiftly deals with them. After this, the reward for capturing John is now increased to $15 million. John reaches a theater and uses the crucifix to gain entry. This place is where the Ruska Roma, a group that seems to train hitmen from a young age and might be connected to John's past knowledge and skills, is based. He has a meeting with the director, who is part of the High Table and has known John since he was a child. She calls him Jardani, which is his actual name. John gives her the crucifix necklace, which will enable him to travel out of New York without any issues. A mysterious lady comes into the Continental Hotel. She gives a coin to Karen, who tells Winston, the manager, that someone called the adjudicator wants to meet him. After asking to check Santino's body, the adjudicator tells Winston he must quit his job because he let John live after he broke the rules at the hotel. The adjudicator also goes to see the Bowery King. He says he's following the rules called excommunicado. But she says no one is above the High Table's rules, and he has to leave town because he gave John a gun, knowing what John would do with it. He laughs and says he can't give up his power because he is the power. John arrives in Casablanca and is quickly attacked by 3 people with knives. He defeats one of them, but their fight stops when a guy says that the hotel's manager has granted John to come there. The assassin isn't happy and tries to attack John, but the man shoots him. They both go to a hotel called the Continental in Morocco. John meets the manager, Sophia, who shows him pictures of a woman and her daughter. Then, 2 guard dogs appear beside him. Sophia, coming out of the shadows, shoots John in the chest, but his suit stops the bullet. She says she should kill him, but he shows her a special marker they made years ago because he saved her daughter. She doesn't want him to use the marker, but John insists that she takes him to see her old boss. She finally agrees, but she's not very happy about it. He wants to find the Elder, who is even more powerful than the High Table and can take away John's excommunicado status. The adjudicator visits a small sushi restaurant. The chef, Zero, sees her special coin and says he didn't think she would come so quickly. He's aware of John and wants to go after him. The adjudicator tells Zero to hunt down John and also go after anyone who helped him. Sophia comes back to John, armed with lots of weapons. She hides one on her dog's vest. John tells her he just wants to talk to her boss, but she's not sure if she can trust him. They go to a place and meet Beretta, who used to be Sophia's boss. John asks Beretta to take him to the Elder, who's above the High Table, so he can make things right. Beretta doesn't know where the Elder is, but he says the Elder only finds people he wants to find. He tells John to go into the desert and follow the stars until he's almost dying, and maybe the Elder will find him there. Before they can leave, Beretta wants a gift. He asks for one of Sophia's dogs, but she won't give it to him. So, he shoots the dog, but it's wearing a bulletproof vest. John tells Sophia not to seek revenge, but she shoots Beretta, and a fight starts with his people. The dog attacks Beretta in a sensitive spot. After they defeat the guards, Sophia shoots Beretta in the leg, and they run away, but more guards are coming. They fight their way out of the place, with her dogs following her orders, and then head into the desert. They arrive and John pricks his finger and signs the marker with his blood. This means Sophia's debt is paid off. Sophia gives most of the water to her dogs and takes a sip herself before spitting some back into the bottle. She tells John that he might die here or later. John walks into the desert with the bottle, and Sophia leaves. He walks on sand dunes for a whole day and night until he falls down. In the Bowery King's place, the ninjas attack and hurt many guards really bad. Zero and the adjudicator go up to the roof. The Bowery King offers to be loyal, but she says he had his chance. He stands up to her and lets his pigeon fly away to safety. Zero punishes him by giving him 7 cuts because of the 7 bullets he gave John. The Bowery King falls on the roof. In the desert, a person in a cloak finds John. Later, John wakes up inside a tent. He's facing the elder, who tells him that he's never seen someone so lost. The elder asks John why he wants to live, and John says it's to remember Helen. So, the elder gives him a choice, either die right there or become the scary assassin again, but he can remember through death. John can't be out like he used to be, but he can cancel the excommunicado. In return, he must kill Winston. John agrees and shows his loyalty by cutting off his wedding ring finger and giving the ring to the elder. The elder accepts his loyalty and tells his people to help John get ready to go back to New York. They also give him new clothes. When John gets back to New York, he faces 2 assassins. But some ninjas show up and take out the assassins. These ninjas bring John to see Zero. John and Zero are about to fight, but a bunch of school kids get in the way. John takes this chance to escape, killing 2 ninja motorcyclists and stealing one of their bikes. Zero and his ninja gang chase John. On the freeway, while driving super fast, John fights and takes out several sword-wielding enemies. They all chase him into the city, but they both crash near the Continental Hotel. Since John is on Continental property, Zero can't kill him. Karen, the guy who works at the hotel, takes John to a waiting room, and Zero follows. In the waiting room, Zero admits he's a big fan of John. He says they're alike, but John doesn't agree. John reunites with his dog but tells him to stay until Winston, the hotel manager, is ready to see him. Winston meets John in a special glass room used for important talks. He knows John might be here to kill him and would rather be killed by a friend. But Winston offers another choice. John can pull the trigger and sell his soul, becoming the scary assassin forever, working for the High Table. Or, he can fight against the High Table and eventually die as the man his wife loved. The adjudicator comes to see if Winston will step down from his position. He refuses. She asks if John will kill him. John won't. So, she says the Continental is no longer a safe place. People can do business there, and both men are targets. Some of the High Table's best assassins are on their way. However, given the situation, Winston decides to give John all his privileges back. He'll need a lot of guns. John goes to the armory, where they tell him the High Table has upgraded their armor. They suggest he use stronger bullets. Winston locks himself in the armory while John, Karen, and a few loyal people prepare to fight the High Table's goons. The enemy's armor is much tougher than expected, so John has to get up close to take them down. The adjudicator calls Winston, asking how long he can hold out. He hangs up without answering. Only John and Karen survive the first attack from the High Table. They meet back in the armory, and Karen shows John an armor-piercing shotgun. The second wave of enemies comes, and John quickly defeats them with the shotgun, blowing their heads off. The adjudicator calls Winston again and asks if they can talk. He agrees. John heads to the glass room where he's attacked by 2 ninjas and crashes through a lot of glass displays. Eventually, he manages to defeat both using their own swords. He goes upstairs, and Zero taunts him through the glass, but then he's ambushed by 2 of Zero's top guys. These shinobi get the upper hand and could kill John, but they decide to talk about how honorable it is to fight him. The fight goes on, and John gets knocked down again. As he tries to get up, they mention he's not in great shape because he retired recently. John takes off his belt to use as a weapon. After a long third round of fighting, where John is tired and resorts to some dirty moves like groin kicks and ear slaps, he finally slams one of the shinobi so hard that the glass ground breaks, and they all fall down. The shinobi can't get up, but John can. He leaves to find Zero, who is on the upper floor. They have a long sword fight. Eventually, John gets the upper hand by using Zero's own disappearing trick against him. Even though he's badly hurt, Zero keeps fighting until John thrusts a sword through his chest. Both men are exhausted, and they sit down together. Zero talks about how great the fight was and says he'll catch up to John. But he won't. As John leaves, Zero slumps to the side, dead. Winston and the adjudicator have a meeting on the roof. She warns Winston that the first wave of attacks is just the beginning, and the Continental will eventually be taken down. Winston responds by saying he can reclaim the Continental. His influence runs deep in New York, making him the city itself. John arrives as the adjudicator sees Winston's display as a sign of loyalty. She restores the Continental and Winston as its manager but insists something must be done about John. Winston agrees and shoots John multiple times. The bullets don't harm John due to his jacket, but the force pushes him back, and he falls from the roof. The adjudicator is satisfied. The adjudicator leaves but then decides to check John's body. She goes back into the Continental and informs Winston that John's body is missing. She says they don't want John Wick coming after them. Winston agrees and whispers Baba Yaga. Tick-Tock Man picks up John and takes him to the Bowery King in his hideout. When the Bowery King sees how badly injured John is, he expresses his strong anger toward the high table. He then asks John if he shares the same anger, and John confirms that he is indeed pissed off as well. In this way, movie ends here.